If you're PCSing to Whiteman, you're gonna wanna watch this. I'm dishing out your top pros and cons for living on Whiteman Air Force Base. We're going to talk about some of Whiteman's most and least desirable aspects of living here. My name is Amy, and for the last 6 years, I've been helping people just like you make moves. I am a mom, I am a military spouse, and I'm a licensed realtor in the state of Missouri. If you're also a military family, I want to help you make that move and be knowledgeable in doing so. Let's jump into it. Here are my top 5 cons for living on Whiteman Air Force Base. One of the largest issues I hear about is the wait list. Now, I could do a whole separate video solely dedicated to the wait list, but just know that there are several factors that come into play. There are a few different wait lists depending on your referral from military housing, which is based off of your rank and your number of dependents on your orders. There's a lot of differing opinions whenever it comes to the wait list. You could talk to one person and they could tell you, I got offered a home, the process was super easy. You talk to other people where they have experienced more of a negative side, where they're waiting a long time, and every time they call to check their wait list position, they feel as if they're bumped down in line. Also, keep in mind how the wait list is structured. When you're added, they do take into account your eligibility and your effective date from your orders, as well as your arrival or your availability date. For example, say you got your orders early and you were just trying to be proactive, went ahead and got on the wait list, you're probably not going to be getting a home offer until 30 to 60 days out, because it does take into account short orders of other incoming families. So the leasing office is at the mercy of their current residents giving their 30-day notice before they know which houses are coming up available to be offered out. With military bases practically being a revolving door, there will be another home closer to your arrival date. That is an example of why you may get bumped down from your spot in line. It's always best practice to let the leasing office know if your arrival date gets moved forward or backward. Now, when it comes to home offers, you are permitted to deny 2 homes before losing your place in line on that wait list. That wraps up our con number 1. Let's move on to con number 2. Con number 2 has to do with living on a military installation itself. You do have to adhere to base and military housing regulations. This doesn't just apply to curb appeal, pulling your weeds or mowing your yard, which we'll kind of get into, but also things like pet limits and other restrictions. Did you know that if you want to paint your walls, you're going to be required to fill out a alterations request form and wait for approval before making that trip to Lowe's? And just so you know, you will be responsible for painting it back to its original color, or expect a charge upon your move out. Say you have a family vacation coming up. You should plan to fill out the necessary paperwork before you take that trip. It's called a caretaker form. You are required to have a caretaker in place to look after your home while you are away. This form should include the dates you will be away, the caretaker's name, phone number, and sign off, and then it needs to be filed with the leasing office before you make that trip. Additionally, if you have family coming to visit longer than 30 days, a guest request form with the name, age, and length of visit must be approved by the leasing staff. This one I found pretty interesting. You're probably familiar with the friendly debate on when is too early to start decorating for Christmas. If you're the person who always has your tree out by Thanksgiving, then you might want to reconsider living on base. According to Whiteman community guidelines, exterior lights are only permitted 1 week after Thanksgiving through New Year's Day. That wraps up con number 2. Let's jump into con number 3. Con number 3 would just be the delay that is associated with the main gate. Now, there are 3 gates total to get onto Whiteman. The main gate, aka Spirit Gate, is open 24 hours a day. However, Arnold Gate, which is on the north side, and LeMay Gate to the south, also known as the Commercial Gate, close promptly at 6 p.m. Monday through Friday only, so you can expect not to be able to take those back gates. You'll have to keep this in mind when you are coming and going. Also expect heavy traffic along Spirit Gate when school gets out around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But also, this is the end of the workday for many people who work on base. So it's not uncommon for traffic to be backed up. Now, I will say that people are very courteous when it comes to driving on base for the most part. If you are needing to zip across Spirit, this line of cars is a huge obstacle, but I will say that people are kind and do stop and let you out. If you don't have school-aged kids that need to be picked up around this time, I would avoid getting out around this time of day. This wraps up con number 3. Let's go ahead and jump into con number 4. Con number 4 is facility closures. Places like the commissary and the BX where you need to get your groceries or pick up some forgotten items. You'll want to keep in mind what time they close because it is a little earlier than a traditional grocery store. If you are familiar with base life, this isn't a surprise to you. If you're a working mama and need to stop by the store and you just can't make it there before 6:30 or have a late night craving, you will have to drive off base to pick up your things. But if you're not tied to a 9 to 5, maybe you have the leisure of going during the day, this won't necessarily be a negative or a con for you. Something to be mentioned in regards to the commissary that not everyone seems to know, especially if this is your first duty station, is about the checkout. So whenever you're checking out at the commissary, it's kind of like a hybrid between a regular grocery store and an Aldi's. So they will scan your stuff, but they will ask if you want a bagger. If you say yes, be prepared to tip your bagger because they work strictly off of your tips. So plan to self-bag if you aren't able to tip that day. So just keep that in mind and make sure you have cash on hand when you go or get cash back at the checkout. All right, off to con number 5. When you decide to live on base, you are forfeiting all of your BH, regardless of the type of home or size of home that you receive. So they will cap your rent at the with dependents rate, regardless of whether you are married with kids or not. They will still take your BH with dependent rate. Unless you are pregnant, single airman, then you will be forfeiting all of your BH. That is the only scenario in which someone is able to pay the without dependent rate. It may be wiser to seek off-base options so that you can pocket your remaining BH. I'm always happy to help figure out if this is the best scenario for you. If you're unsure about how much BH you are allotted per month, your LES statement will show you that information. Or if you're just unsure of what the housing market can get you per month and whether that makes sense to you, just reach out. I'm happy to help you figure that out. Well, that wraps up our cons for living on Whiteman Air Force Base. Let me know in the comments if you think that there's one that I should have mentioned. Let's go ahead and hop on into our pros for living here at Whiteman. At the top of our pro list, I would say our fantastic Knob Noster school districts. We have Whiteman Elementary for our on-base residents that serves kindergarten through 5th grade. Now, if you have a kiddo that is in 6th through 12, they do go off base where they have a middle and a high school. This is approximately 2 miles outside of the base gate. Now, Knob Noster does have its own elementary school, and some military families know that they're going to be stationed here for a while, do choose to send their kiddos to that elementary school off base so that they're able to grow up with more of the local kids instead of having your friends move all the time. One of the things that makes the school system so fantastic are the teachers and the staff, because they truly understand what it means to work on a military installation, and they can help your child make a smooth transition to a new place. they've kind of become the experts, and many of the teachers are even military spouses, which is pretty cool too. There is a youth program on base which does assist with before and after school care, as well as summer school program. They take the kids to cool places like Legoland and Kaleidoscope in Kansas City. I personally love the youth center's setup because they have like 5 separate rooms that the kids can bounce back and forth at their own leisure. If they want to switch rooms, all they have to do is pull their name tag from the command board and place it in the room that they want to go to, as long as there's a space available. The teachers there are very fun and activity driven. My son really enjoys going there and even gets mad whenever I show up to pick him up. That is your pro number 1 in regards to living on base. Let's go ahead and jump into pro number 2. Pro 2 is less maintenance. There is a number of things that is provided to you just free of charge whenever you live on base. So in the wintertime, they provide salt for your sidewalks. You can also pick up grass seed, mulch. They have a lot of self-help items such as a manual push mower, a weed eater, specialty light bulbs, not to mention a maintenance sign if you need to place a work order for literally anything that breaks in your house. It's fantastic. Jumping into pro number 3, this is just about the amenities overall. I feel the majority of people who live on base appreciate the safety of a gated community. There is ease with letting your kids play outside with their friends. It is a very family-friendly place to live. The base does have a contracted company who mows everything except for your fenced-in backyard. Your main responsibilities when it comes to outside is making sure that your lawn in the back is mowed and that your front flower beds are free from any weeds. These can get out of hand in the summertime, and military housing has been known to go around and issue curb citations for flower beds that are looking a little unruly. So the amenities that are included and you can expect whenever you live on base are your gas, water, electric. All of that will be coming out of your BH and is included. The only thing that you're gonna need to worry about is your internet and phone bill. The Ridgeview neighborhood is the only one that will include a microwave. Another great amenity that the base has is all of these walking trails that just snake throughout each of the neighborhoods, and I think I counted upwards of 22 parks on base, just sporadically placed. Multiple ponds that are stocked with fish. There's even a disc golf course. There's a fitness center, batting cages, a bowling alley. There used to be a movie theater on base, but they closed that down and don't expect to be reopening. Honestly, there is just so much to explore. You could find something to do for every day of the month. Not to mention the Knob Noster State Park that is right outside of the base gate. There is just so much to explore in this area. That leads us right into pro number 4. Pro 4 has more to do with our community of people. So living on a military base, you are sure to meet so many different types of people. You run into people that have traveled across the world. So hearing about their base life in, say, Germany is super interesting to me. Among the local community, you will find a lot of retirees because people end up PCS'ing here and then they end up residing here because they love the area so much. It's really easy to see why with the neighboring communities like Warrensburg and Sedalia. They offer a small town feel with big-hearted people. They put on a ton of great events, and I just really encourage you to get out there and check out some of the local spots. You will not be disappointed. Well, that wraps up our top pros and cons for living on Whiteman Air Force Base. Thank you for watching. If this is your first time to the channel and want to know everything that there is to know about living in and around Whiteman Air Force Base, consider subscribing so you can be the first to know. If you happen to live here already, feel free to comment below with what you wish you would have known before deciding to live on base.